Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob back again with Not Another Laughing Matter. Pat's back today. We're going to talk a little bit more baseball and let's get it going, Pat. What you want to start with?
I'm good with whatever. Tucker's a big signing though.
Yeah. Tucker traded for Paredes and Cam Smith and Hayden Wesneski. Who do you think won the trade?
I gotta say Astros. Um, Tucker is legit. Like Tucker's a dude. Um, but you're talking about an already crowded outfield in Chicago. You're giving up a third baseman who you gave up Morrill, or you parted ways with Morrill, moved on from Morrill to or Morrell, however you want to pronounce it, to get Paredes. Granted, Morrell was hitting sub 200 as well, but still young, um, producing some pretty good Statcast numbers. A lot of red on his profile, which is always typically a good indication that there's some hope there for better results. I know at one point in the season, Morrell had he was higher up in the league percentage wise on expected batting average differential compared to his regular batting average, just meaning he was running into a lot of bad luck. So that said, you're willing to move on from a guy like that for Paredes, only to in turn ship him out pretty much immediately. That's I was not expecting that. That said, you lose Paredes, you lose Smith. I think it's the kid's name, right?
Yeah, Cam Smith.
Yeah. Um, it's just I don't know. I feel like with the crowded outfield and everything, and third base being a position that is tough to fill compared to outfield. We've had that discussion before, like with the whole Bregman situation. Like, yeah, Bregman may not be all that great offensively anymore, but what other third base options are out there? You know,
Well,
so
let me ask you
that's kind of where I see it.
the idea of trading Bellinger was had been floated around, or trading Suzuki or whatever. Do the Cubs now keep Belly and slot him to first base, and you don't worry about it, and then you play Matt Shaw at third, and you go with Belly at first, Nico, Dansby, Shaw, Suzuki, Tucker, PCA in the outfield, and then you just DH whoever's left over? That's a pretty good lineup.
It's not bad at all. I'm gonna say this too. I wouldn't. I think they're gonna attempt. I think they're gonna attempt to still find them a third baseman by dealing Belly or Suzuki. But at the end of the day, they're not gonna. I think take a L on a deal. Because at the end of the day, they can move Belly to 1B. They can shift Bush to 3B. And granted, Bush, yeah, Bush has never been a Gold Glove caliber defensive guy. He's always a bat first player, but I mean, the kid came up through the system as a third baseman / second baseman, so he's capable of playing it to some degree. So they at least have some options.
You've also got the possibility of trading Nico, which has been floated that I've seen to get more pitching.
I mean, I don't think Houston won it by a landslide, but from where I sit, I think they got the better end of the deal. They get rid of Tucker before he hits free agency.
That's the big thing for me, is that he's only got one year,
right? If he hits free agency based on what Soto got, he's going to be in a semi-similar.
He won't even be half, which is an egregious statement to make. But he'll be 350 max probably. But
yeah, I mean he's going to garner 35
contract.
Yeah, he's going to garner 35 to 40 million a year, easy. I would think. So you get rid of him before you lose him. You get rid of him before he potentially has any kind of issues in season that devalues him. You gain a third baseman that's got 2 or 3 more years of team control. You also get a guy that is extremely pull happy, who now hits to the short box. Yep. Like if you pulled up his home run chart, it's almost exclusively to left and left center.
Yeah, Deadpool.
So you're talking about a guy now who hit 30 in Tampa, which is not a good hitter's park.
No, not at all.
Now going to a Crawford box, where if he continues that pull happy approach, I mean you're definitely looking at 30 home run potential out of the guy.
Yeah, I think he's good there. I don't know enough about Cam Smith. I like Wesneski. I don't know where he fits in with Houston. Honestly, I hope they take a bunch of losses and I don't have to worry about it. Fun to watch them lose.
Yep, same. I'm all for them losing as many games as they can lose.
Funny today, I saw talking about the AL West. I saw somebody put a relatively small, but nonetheless a bet on the A's to win the AL West. Maybe he really liked Jeffrey Springs. I don't know.
I mean, I think overall it is a good acquisition. I'm not crazy about it, kind of like we discussed.
Which I said I would take earlier. You said if you had to give up any prospect of note or anything like that, you didn't really care for it. But
yeah, like I say, when we discussed it outside of the forum here, like, yeah, I wasn't over the moon for it. In the grand scheme of things, it is a fairly decent ad. It is a upgrade from what we had, no doubt about it. And I mean, it gives us a fairly competitive rotation. I won't say solid because there's still a lot of unknown, but it gives us a competitive rotation at least, to where if they pitch where they're capable or to some of the numbers they've had in the past when they've been going well, such as Severino and Springs, then I mean, you're talking about potentially being right in the thick of it in the West. Now, you also could get bad Severino, you could get injured Severino, or you could get injured Springs. And if you wind up with that, then you're still back at where you were before you acquired these guys. So,
and you've got Sears, you've got Ginn, you've got or Jen, however he says it.
I think it's Ginn.
So there's guys there. I think if they can get one more, there's a chance that they could compete. They competed more this year than everybody else thought they would.
I think their 2025 season hinders on 2 things for me. Can Rooker repeat? If Rooker can repeat even remotely close to what he did this past year, because he's never been a high average guy. Even at Mississippi State in college, he was never a high average guy. The power has always been there, legit power. So if he can get, he went 293 and 39 this year, I think.
Yeah, 39 and 112.
If he can do 260 to 270 with 35 plus, then I really like our offense and our chances there. And then key number 2, I think, is just going to be pitching health. Yep. Severino's had injuries before, Springs injuries before. The 3, 4, 5 after that's been remotely healthy, but then your bullpen, Miller, like, he's throwing 103 every pitch. You need that arm to hold up. You need that stopper on the back end to legit compete for a division title. So If,
I wonder
if
why.
pitching is healthy and Rooker can repeat, I think that's where we're at.
So two things for me, and I wonder why the A's didn't attempt, or I don't know if they did or didn't, but I feel like they have enough prospect pedigree or semi-ready guys to offer Tampa a little extra to try to get Pete Fairbanks. I know, and he's had injury issues as well, constantly over the past couple of years. But I feel like if you had him working the eighth and then Miller working the ninth, or if they did decide to trade Miller, which we'll talk about in a second, um, and Pete can obviously slide into the ninth inning role without a problem. I kind of wonder why they didn't go that route.
I would say injury history. Like for me, that scares me big time. When a guy's pitching and his hand goes numb, that's generally not a good. That's not a good situation.
And that was multiple times last year too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was more than just once. Like something is fixing to break down on that arm or that situation that I would steer clear of it. That said, it's Tampa and they got 10 other relievers that are similar. So why not try and acquire one of those guys? Instead of taking the guy that we took, who's a 26-year-old arm with 4 major league appearances and a 5+ ERA, it's like you didn't gain anything probably by taking that arm. Now he could surprise. It could have been just a bad 4-game stint. The bright lights kind of threw the kid off. Who knows? But typically at 20, by the time you're 26, when you get your shot, your results are typically what you are. Because at that point you're matured. You're not just blown away by all the I finally got here. Like you're like, I'm here, this is my shot. And so I don't know. I'm just not blown away by the second piece of the puzzle here. And I didn't expect him to land like a Yandy or a Lau or anything like that. But I think we could have found some better value than what we did. And again, no knock to the guy we got, to the kid we got, Lopez, but feels like it was just something we took just to take.
Yeah.
Like, hey, what else can you throw us? And Tampa goes, what about this guy? And they go, sure.
Yeah.
Without really
like,
looking
we need another
into
reliever.
It,
got rid of Urseg.
Yeah.
But you were speaking on Rooker. So 2023, he had a great year. 30 home runs, average 246. Okay, I mean it's you're only talking 10 to 15 points difference from what you were asking. I think the big thing for him, he strikes out a lot. 172 and 23 and 177 last year, but that's a 5 strikeout difference, and he had 83 more at bats last year. So he had 83 more at bats and he struck out 5 more times. I feel like the plate discipline finally kind of clicked, and that's where the 293, the 47-point jump in average came from.
Well, I think what you see too is, so like in 2023, in 2023, his whiff percentage was 1. Like he struck out 38%, which I think was toward in the like top 5 percentile of the league. Like he was up there. His K rate 32%, walk rate 9%. If you fast forward to 2024, the whiff rate drops 4%. K rate drops roughly 4%, and the walk rate goes up from 9.3 to 9.6. So not a huge jump, but some jump. So he decreased his whiff rate, K rate. I think he even decreased his chase rate while slightly increasing his walk rate. I think that's where you're seeing it come from, as well as his launch angle increased. And I know at times we've had discussions where you've laughed at me about discussing launch angle and talking about launch angle, but I think there is some correlation there, and we'll get to that with discussing the A's and the trade that was essentially nixed earlier. And you'll kind of see where that sort of plays a part in that player to be named soon's stats or factors. But yeah, his launch angle went up a full entire degree from 17.6 to 18.9 this past year. So what that does for a guy like Rooker who has the massive power that he's got, now he's lifting it even a little bit more than he was lifting it previously. So I think that's where you're starting to see the home runs come from. The extra home runs. You're starting to see more balls off the wall in the gap instead of a line out somewhere or something like that. So I think that's kind of playing. All of those factors just discussed, all the numbers thrown out, playing into why his average is up. I don't think the 293 is sustainable though. When his expected average was 266, like that's almost a full 30 points less on expected average versus actual average.
But at that point, at 266, if he's hitting 30, 35 homers, and last year 39, this year moving to Sacramento, possibly 40, 45 at 266. Yeah, I'm like, that's a taking 100% of the time.
Yeah, oh, no doubt. And that's what I say. If he can repeat in the 3-4 hole for us, wherever he slots, I think we're fixing to compete. Because I think Butler is legit. I don't think that's a fluke.
He looked every bit of it last year.
Yeah, you can look at his stat cast. It's not it wasn't an accident. As well as he's been one of our bigger prospects. So it's not like he was number 30 on the list and was like, hey, let's see if you got anything. Like, he's been one of our bigger prospects for the past couple of years. So it's, first year in the bigs, expected average 261. Or I say first full year in the bigs, expected average of 261 with a average exit velocity over 90, max exit over 113, and for a young guy, a fairly respectable K rate at 23.9. So not like he's swinging and missing a ton. He's delivering some power with it. Good exit velos. Like,
he's got some good size too.
Decent speed. I didn't realize he was as big as he was. Yeah. Not a blazer, but I mean he runs well enough to probably steal 20 in a year. He had 18 this past year.
Got a 55 grade run.
You slot him one, you get any production at all out of whoever you throw in the 2-hole, whether that be Geloff, whether it be Bleday, whoever. I mean, you're putting guys on now in front of Rooker. If he goes 260 and say 40, 45, then he's again driving in another 110 plus, and we're in business.
Yeah, they were a team that I tried to ride every bit of my starting pitchers against early in the season, and you did too, honestly, even against your own team. And it turned around to kind of bite us in the butt, and we kind of laid off and really started watching and realizing that the team wasn't nearly as bad as it was thought it was going to be. And I think a lot to do with that was Rooker and Butler, but still.
Well, when you think about it, at the beginning of the year, there was a ton of swing and miss, but you were also running guys like a Ryan Noda, Nick Allen. You're running guys out there like that who, can they play at the level? Yeah, they could technically be a big leaguer, but are they the type of guys that's going to get you into a competitive situation? No, not at all.
Yeah.
But we went from, I think as you're talking, when we were running at the first of the year with the fantasy stuff, like Oakland was leading the league in Ks. by the end of the year, I don't remember exactly where they fell, but they ended up getting surpassed by their own division foe, the Mariners, who I think took home the title of the most strikeouts of anybody. So it's
And the most disappointing team in baseball, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, so let's see if this will pull up here. Team hitting. Actually, that's fine.
While you're doing that, I'm looking at Rooker's splits from last season. So of his 39 home runs, how many do you think he had at home last year?
In Oakland?
Yep.
Probably more than half.
More than half?
Yeah, maybe not a lot more than half, but I'm gonna say more than half.
About 24 on the road and 15 at home.
Really? Okay.
So if he
I only
keeps
say
the
that
road,
because it seemed like watching the games that all of his big home runs were home games. But
yep. So if he can hit 20 in Sacramento, which I don't think will be a problem, he should hit 39 again. I don't know that he can hit 24 on the road again,
yeah.
but he also hit 301 on the road. So who's to say?
So Oakland went from leading the league in strikeouts as a team to falling to fifth, with Seattle, Colorado, Boston, and Pittsburgh ahead of them. But that was the big change. We got Nick Allen off the field, brought in Schumann. We got Noda off the field and ended up bringing up Butler. And Shea finally started putting the bat on the ball, fairly consistent, instead of all the swing and miss. Rooker went through an unreal hot stretch there at one point. I don't remember what month it was, but it hit like 400 plus with 8 or 10 home runs in the month. Like, it was crazy. He was
July.
going off. So
he hit 391 with 11 homers and 30 RBIs in
July. Yeah. I knew it was something wild.
That's unreal.
Yeah, that month alone could make a lot of guys some money over a course of a full season.
And stole 5 bases in July. He had 11 on the season and 5 in July.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
I don't know. It's I don't think it's a question of if he can repeat it. Because I really think at this point he is what he is. Like, I don't think it's a fluke. He's got back-to-back 30-plus home run seasons. It's just a matter of, does the 39 and the playing now in the somewhat hitter-friendly Sacramento, does that get in his head and start playing a factor to where you see the average dip again? Again though, 260 plus, 35 plus, 100 plus. I'm all in A's being able to compete for the West.
Yeah. I think it's sustainable. Like we were talking about the strikeout numbers going down, the walks going up slightly, and the walks could be more intentional walks because he's earning more respect from pitchers and managers, and if that continues to happen, then he may not hit the 40 plus home runs, but if he's still hitting 32, 33, and the walk rate goes up another 1.5% because of that earned respect, then it's hard to beat that too. If he's hitting anywhere close to, I imagine he's in the middle of Butler and Shea at some form or fashion. So that they will have opportunities to have RBIs.
That's right.
Or he could be hitting, in front of Alec Bohm.
Well, apparently that was in the works earlier today. I don't know if you saw it before I sent you that, but
I have not.
They reached out to the Phillies trying to acquire Alec Bohm, who obviously I would always take because, 15 and 280 with a fairly decent defense is something we don't have as a third baseman.
And he drives in a ton of runs too.
But that said, the asking price that the Phillies supposedly came back with was absolutely stupid. I don't know all the parameters because I don't think it's actually been released yet what all of the parameters of the possible trade was, but The talk was A's contacted on Baum. Phillies countered back with, not a problem at all. He's yours, but Mason Miller has to be involved. And apparently, I don't know if it was cordial or not, but our GM immediately shut the whole entire talks down. Like, yet not Miller's not available. What else is available? Like, supposedly just shut the whole thing down. Like, all right, see you.
And that's what I'm reading is basically what you just said. They asked about Bohm, Philly asked about Miller, and that was the end of the conversation. Philly reportedly did that with the Mariners as well, asking for either Kirby or Gilberts, and the conversation was stopped immediately. And I know
I like that position and stance from our side, just because, like I say, we don't have Alec Bohm on the roster. Without making a trade, we can't get an Alec Bohm type to be our third baseman, which is our biggest hole offensively at the moment. So, I mean, you got to make something happen, but you're talking about taking a guy who, these are his numbers in the past 3 seasons. So, 280 average, 13 home runs. 274 average, 20 home runs. 280 average, 15 home runs. So you kind of know what you're getting with it. He doesn't walk a lot. He's got a 6.6 walk percentage. So he swings the bat often. Now, I will say he doesn't miss. He's got some of the better whiff and K rate in the league. But when you don't walk, you swing and make contact a lot, then you better not have one of those Eric Hosmer launch angles where you're beating everything into the ground.
-3 degrees.
Yeah, and essentially Bohm is he's kind of been there his whole career, which is why you see the high average, because his StatCast hard hit rates and stuff. I mean, they're up there, but you get high average, low home run potential out of a 6'5" frame with huge leverage, but it's because his launch angles are 4.8, 5.6. He did jump in 2022 from 5.6 to 10.4, so he started taking off a little bit where you're like, okay, he's finally realized he's got to lift. He's got the leverage to lift, and he's fixing to start driving the baseball. And that's when you see it jump to 13 home runs in 22 with a 10.4 launch angle. He jumps to 11.1 launch angle in 23, and lo and behold, his home run total goes up 7. He hits 20. This past season, he dropped back down to 10.1 launch angle and hits 15 again. So it's like, I think he's maxed out there, honestly. Like, I think that's where he's topped. I think he's going to be a 15 to 20 guy max with 270 to 285 average. And again, that's solid. But I'm not
getting
giving up
paid
Mason
for a long time, but
I'm not giving up Mason Miller, who, as a reliever, had over 100 Ks in less than, I think, 60 innings, maybe it was.
It's a freak.
Let's see if I can find that. But it was something stupid. I know when I looked at it, I was like, that's just retarded.
I don't.
Yeah, Miller this year threw 65 innings with 104 strikeouts. He almost averaged 2 strikeouts per inning pitched.
That's crazy.
If my math is remotely correct.
His Ks per nine was what, like 15.5 or 16, something like that.
It was something really stupid.
Yeah.
You look at his StatCast page, and he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The first 7 categories, which is ERA, expected batting average, velo, exit velocity, chase, whip percentage, K percentage. He is 99th or 100th percentile in 6 of those 7 categories. The one he's not, he's 96% of the league in that category. So
he's a bomb.
Just stupid numbers, man. And 26 years old, so still young.
Not even yet, is he?
Yeah,
No,
I
is.
think
He
he's
is. He turned
26.
it at the end of the season.
I mean, you're talking about a kid that's 26, just started closing. StatCast page is off the charts red. The numbers back it up, and Phillies go, hey, for a guy that we know exactly what he is, which is a middle of the pack offensive third baseman, we want this kid that's potentially the best closer in the AL.
The utter disrespect, I feel like, from that offer to go 1-for-1 for a potential top 3 or 4 closer in the game when they tried to package Bohm with Castellanos for 1 year of Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking Bohm and Castellanos are their 5th and 6th options as far as actual best hitters in the lineup, probably.
Right.
And they want 1 year of Kyle Tucker, or they want 7 years of Mason Miller, or how much ever team control he's got.
Well, as well as I'm over here, like, what in the world are you doing, Phillies? Like, how many relievers do you want to acquire? Like,
all they got to do is bring back Estevez.
They have a pretty loaded bullpen as it is. It seems like every time you turn around, they're trying to or in the process of acquiring another relief pitcher / former closer. It's like you can only
that
have
was their
so
bugaboo
many.
a couple of years ago was they had 0 bullpen help, and I guess Dombrowski's taken it upon himself to completely shift the dynamic and
You can
get
only have so many guys pitch.
What's that?
I said you can only have so many guys pitch. So like they have Alvarado who has closed some games. They have
Hoffman if he comes back.
Just signed Romano. So you got Romano, you got Alvarado, you got Strong, you got
who was an all-star.
What was it? There was somebody else there.
Hoffman was there, Estevez was there.
Yeah. It's like, and chances are they sign another reliever / former closer at some point this offseason. Now, it may be a guy like a Kirby Yates who most folks don't think about, but still had a solid year last year, or somebody like that. But or if Yates may already have signed for all I know. That's somebody I
could see him making a play at Mentor or Matzik or somebody to try to wipe one away from Atlanta too.
It just, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why. You obviously want to shop Bohm, because you're probably seeing the same thing we're seeing, that as good as he's been for you, he's not doing something that you probably can't replace. And so, yeah, try and capitalize on a solid season. He was an all-star this year, I believe. Capitalize on that, get you somebody that can help in some other area, but you can't. I don't think you can shop that. You can't shop a 2B for a 1A type player.
Right.
And that's what it was, asking for Miller right off the bat.
Trying to see if anything else had been said or happened or anything. But, I wish the A's could find a trade similar to that and not give up Mason Miller, because as a Braves fan, I don't want to see Philly get a guy like him.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's hard to understand why they're going for that many relievers. Like you said, there's only so many guys that can pitch, and when you've got Ranger Suarez who could go 7 innings every day, you've got Wheeler who's probably going 7+ every day, Nola 6+. At that point, you're running out of bullets. Like there's not enough need for bullets, and
well, and so looking at 2026 free agent third baseman. And the reason looking at 26 is you're looking at a similar situation like with the Astros with Tucker. right? Is there anybody out there, is kind of where I was going, is there anybody out there that you can go, hey, you're going to lose next year, you might as well deal him?
Yeah.
There's
What
only
about
four,
like
there's
I
only
don't know
four
how much he has or
2026
can
free
play
agents.
third, like a Jorge Polanco type guy.
Maybe so. There's only four 3B free agents in 2026 that are listed 3B. Eugenio Suarez,
He'll be up there in age and he strikes out with the best of them.
this next one, though, I mentioned to you earlier today, too, all four of them was, what about Yandy Diaz of Tampa? Like why didn't you try and throw something in to package him with Springs? Because they're going to deal him this year, no doubt about it. So why didn't you go ahead and already try and score him in the package? And
but if you're talking about adding him for 2026, he will be 35 years old. He's already 33.
Talking about adding him for this coming up season, but looking at 26 in that Tampa needs to trade him or lose him.
I'm sure they'll trade him this year because I don't know that they can compete in the East this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going to trade him this year, guaranteed, because contract runs out in 26. So you're not going to let him get nothing. They're going to trade him. So as Oakland, why didn't you try and add him into the package? And now, is he a tremendous defensive third baseman? Not really. That's why he got flipped to first. But Can he play it? I'd say probably as good as anybody we're going to throw over there, more than likely. And if he can't, if he's a little bit subpar there, the offense he brings is probably going to outweigh whoever we put over there. So I'm not saying it would be a great idea or a great deal for us. Just I think it could have been something that might have helped. If nothing else, it may have been to where he plays 2 months or a month, and you hope he's doing enough offensively that you can flip him for an actual third baseman.
Interesting. I'm reading this article right here, and it's talking about the A's possibly still looking for a third baseman. And at the bottom of the article, meanwhile, Jorge Polanco, Paul DeJong, and Yoan Moncada are among the potential third base options available in the lower tiers of the free agent market. So, I mean, you've got that option. And Polanco could be bad. He could be decent. He could be good. DeJong, he had enough struggles to where he was sitting down and bouncing around from team to team, and then he woke up with the White Sox and then played good with the Royals last year or whatever. I wouldn't mind seeing a guy like that if DeJong is willing to play third base for them every day. I think he could be okay in that order.
I think what you're going to see is I think Oakland is going to take another swing at a trade. I don't know who it would be.
Go get Arenado. He's probably not. I think he's got a full no trade though, doesn't
he? He pretty much has come out and said that he's going to a World Series contender. Basically, is kind of how I interpreted it. Now, that really at this point just means anybody that's a playoff contender. I feel like because you can't guarantee anybody's going to the World Series.
Except the Dodgers.
Yeah, pretty much Dodgers. Dodgers are locked in, but you could. I don't like this guy, really and truly, but I think somebody we should pick the phone up on is Ryan McMahon for Colorado.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of him either. Somebody that got let go by Colorado is Brendan Rodgers. I know you are a fan of his. Can he play third base? That would be a nice, cheap signing. I feel like that if they're not, if the A's are not winning and improving compared to what they were last year and what they want to do, he could be a trade chip if you sign him on a 1, possibly 2-year deal with a team option or whatever after the season.
Potentially, I think yes. he was always a bat first guy. So I don't know a ton about his defensive acumen or accomplishments, but I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at. Is you either try and make a swing on somebody that's proven to at least be average or above average, slightly above average, like a Bomb, like a Mac Mahan, or you have to settle and sign somebody like a Moncada,
Urshela.
who I think really will in turn probably end up being our number one target if we swing and miss on a trade for a third baseman. Hoping he can reclaim some of that prospect glory that he had and somehow stay healthy. But at the end of the day, from there, I think if we swing and miss on a trade, I think it's just a crapshoot of whoever we sign, your fingers crossed, hoping that either one, they stay healthy, or two, they're able to find some old glory that they used to have, or something like that. Like, it's not going to be somebody that we look and go, we got our guy. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. If it falls down to somebody like that, I'm not even going after him. I'm plugging in Max Schumann as my third baseman and rolling through, because he's going to produce 240, 12 to 15. So the average is not quite there of a Bomb, but you're gonna wind up with similar power production, I feel like.
And I guess at third base, as long as you've got decent defense and a little pop, that's kind of the whole key to everything at this point.
Last year in 396 at bats, which not a big sample size, but also his first year in and hitting in a tough hitters park, Schumann went 220 with 7 home runs, 14 stolen bases.
Pretty good steals numbers.
You turn that into 550 at bats as a regular day, everyday third baseman, you're probably looking at doubling those home runs in Sacramento. So now you're talking about a guy hitting 15, probably stealing
15,
close
20.
to 30.
Yeah,
probably stealing close to 25, 30 and hitting maybe 240 as an everyday guy instead of a platoon guy. I mean,
there's worse
options. I'm taking that all day over throwing, say, 6-7 million at Moncada or somebody like that, hoping that they somehow show up.
Well, it's amazing. We spent 45 minutes talking about the Sacramento A's or the Athletics or whatever they want to be called.
Yeah, they're finally being active.
You know what? I mean, obviously, you know where my allegiance lies, and if you see this background, you can see where my allegiance lies. The A's have done way more than Atlanta has right now. We've missed out on everybody I've even considered a target. Snell's gone. Eovaldi's back in Texas. Adames is on the West Coast. We're going to get stuck with Andrew Heaney, and I'm not beating down Andrew Heaney. He pitched well last year, but I don't think it's something that moves the needle for us at this point to try to reclaim the East from the Mets now with their offense, from the Phillies, the NL with the Dodgers, the Padres. Andrew Heaney's not going to move the needle because in a 3-man rotation in the playoffs, he's not ever going to see the ball unless it's a massacre, So
you are correct. Dude, one last throw out there. Do you think that two things, KC or Detroit, either one, would come off of their starting third baseman, which is Maikel Garcia or Matt Vierling?
I think Detroit would send Vierling packing.
You think so?
I do. They've got enough.
I think I'd take him over Baum just for the fact that he can play outfield as well as third base.
Yeah, he's real flexible. Who's going to play second base for Detroit at this point?
That is if you hadn't asked me, I could have told you without even attempting to look.
What I'm looking at is I'm looking at Jace Young, who's listed as third base, second base.
Yeah, it's not him. It's the kid they brought up last year that was the switch hitter.
Cole Keith, of course. I don't know
Yeah.
why I lost my mind.
Yeah,
So
Mississippi.
if you got Keith playing there, you could put Jace Young at third base or flip flop them either way. They're your 2 and 3 bags.
Yep.
Vierling could be open for trade.
I mean,
problem with Vierling is that his flexibility.
You're talking about a guy in his first true full year that went 257, 16, and 6.
Yeah.
Still only 28, so I mean he's not young, but he's getting right in the peak of his prime, I would say.
Yeah. The Tigers are going to run into a problem finding somebody for shortstop. My mind is blanking right now. They called somebody up at the end of last year that played shortstop.
Trey Sweeney.
Hurt.
Trey Sweeney was the guy.
Yep, that's it. Another
pretty high prospect formerly.
Yeah, he came from the Dodgers and the Flaherty deal, I believe. Another interesting tidbit about the Tigers while I'm looking at it is that supposedly they are in and at the top of the list to possibly get Alex Bregman, which then really opens up a third base spot or Matt Vierling to not have to worry about third base. Or at that point, Vierling probably becomes a realistic target. They do sign Bregman.
I think you gotta kick the tires on guys like that if you're Oakland. Like at least you're making phone calls, you're testing it, you're seeing. I mean, maybe a Willie Castro from Minnesota. I know Minnesota values him pretty high after the way they've been able to use him for the past 2 years, but that's a guy that basically got full season ABs as a platoon guy this past year and put up 247, 12, and 14. So again,
and man, we were so high on him a handful of years ago when he was in Detroit, and he just
talk about versatility. You're talking about a guy now that played second, third, short, left, right, center, pretty much everywhere last year.
What about a former top prospect, also former Dodger, Zach McKinstry? He can play a little bit of third base. Would he be somebody you're interested in, or would you rather see a Yoan Moncada type?
McKinstry's got power from a smaller frame, but he's got a lot of swing and miss from what I can recall. And in that regard, if we're going to throw say 5 to 8 million somewhere in there at somebody as a reclamation project or a hope that they solidify a third base position, I think I'd rather give somebody like Moncada a chance who, even though he hasn't duplicated what he did early in his career, at least this past year when he was healthy and was on the field, he was productive. I don't remember his numbers. Only 40 at bats, so very, very limited sample size this past year. But
275 average, though.
Part of it. Before he hit his first IL stint, he was batting over 300 for Chicago. He finished the year at 275, but before he hit his first stint, he was hitting over 300. So he was at least productive until injured.
Yeah. I mean, he was the reason Chris Sale got traded. He was the key piece of that.
What would scare me on Moncada is it's not like his injury situation the past couple of years has been a hammy or a leg injury or arm injury. It's been a back issue, and it's been multiple years with a back issue, and that's probably not something that's going to go away, considering this is a sport where you're constantly bending over if you're playing third base in the field. You're constantly twisting and turning when you're swinging, hitting, throwing. Yeah, so that would be my major concern. Is the talent's probably still there. It's just with that with a bad back in this sport, trying to play at a high level. I think it's a waste of money at the end of the day if we go that route.
I'm not saying he wasn't hurt. I'm just saying that I think the White Sox realized he had absolute zero value and just kept him on the injured list until it didn't seem suspicious anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Yeah. Well,
I think that about covers it as far as Oakland goes for at least now, unless they make another big move. I'll say this last caveat: if I was Oakland and I had any selection whatsoever of making a trade for any, and I'll say viable third baseman, because there's some out there they could call all day on and ain't nobody gonna move. And this could be one of them. I don't know, but I just have this feeling this team is not emotionally tied to this guy because of the way they've handled him over the past couple of years. If I was Oakland, my personal favorite that I would reach out on is I would contact the Minnesota Twins and I'd ask on Jose Miranda.
He has been severely underused by the Twins. And I don't think that changes until their manager is gone. But hey, whatever. You know how I feel about him as well. So.
The reason I say that is you're talking about a guy that's 26 that for stretches last year they banged him in their 3 and 4 hole, and then other stretches 7, 8, and then other stretches not even on the field. And so he finished up to a tune of 284 and 9, but he also only had 401 at bats because of how they were using him. So
they're relying so much on Royce Lewis to be out there, and Royce Lewis is one of the most injury prone guys in the league and should probably never touch the field again unless he's running the bases.
You're talking, so not only that, but okay, so like with Miranda, and this is why I think he's the guy I would take a shot on, is you're talking about a guy that, let me find the year because I don't want to misquote this. You're talking about a guy that in 2021 at the AAA level, only 4 years ago, went 344 and 30.
Yeah.
I guys don't go 344 and 30 at the AAA level and not have the hit tool. And so the fact that you're not even willing to give this guy every single day at bats at some position on the field is that would be immediate grounds for me as Oakland GM to go, you know what? This guy's young, under control, so they may not want to deal him, but I'm fixing to pick up the phone and kick the tires.
I mean, if you're going to call Dombrowski for Bohm, then there's no way in the world you shouldn't kick the tires on him. I mean, Miranda, in all reality, is probably going to hit more home runs, even in less at bats, once he gets into a consistent flow.
Yeah, the kid went 344 and 30 and 21 at AAA, comes up to the bigs for first taste of bigs in 22, and goes 268 and 15 as a rookie. And you're like, now you don't want to put him on the field. You don't want to give him every single day at bats.
Yeah.
It got to a point where they sent him down to the minors. Now, I know it was warranted in that he was struggling mightily. But then when they bring him back up and he starts hitting, they still start being sporadic with his ABs and playing time. It's like, man, you're talking about the guy that was 344 and 30 3 years ago. Why are you not giving this kid every day at bats to see what he can do?
Yeah. And if they're going to continue to play Lewis at third, then there's really no other spots because they're going to always try to keep Kepler in the lineup. I know what's the one that just retired at 26 years old or whatever he was for the Twins? I can't even think right now.
Kirilloff.
Yeah, he was going to play first. Unless Miranda moves to first.
You want to know what else is good about Miranda?
What's that?
Take a guess on payroll.
Oh, he's cheap. Yeah, that's
800,000.
That's
$800,000. $800,000 contract for this coming up season.
And I mean, with what time he's been given to play, the A's could offer him a lucrative multi-year deal and get an absolute steal 3 years from now when they're paying him $14 million and he's hitting 30 home runs.
You got him for $800,000 this season. Give up probably 2 prospects or so to get him, maybe something in that range. And if he's productive, like he seems capable of, now you're talking about you could probably throw the guy $5 million a year to $8 million a year over the next 3 to 4 years, and you got your third baseman until he's 31, 32, and starts to slow down.
You could put all kind of escalators in there, all kind of different incentives. Get him cheap for the next 2 years, and then really backload it. They could do a lot of things. You could have him super cheap until you get to Las Vegas, and then have him on another 3 years at $15-20 million a year, and everybody's going to be in a win-win situation at that point. It seems like.
Yep. And again, 26 years old, so still fits the bill of what you're trying to do, which is stay young, stay cheap, and grow together over the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm in on it, but
you've been on Miranda since the day him and Edouard Julien. You've been on those two twins so as long as I can remember. So
I got a feeling though that'll be something that won't ever be discussed or tried or thought about, and I may be wrong. That may be when the Twins immediately pull a Oakland and go, nope, sorry, talk to you later.
But you know what? You don't know until you get told no. Like, there's no harm in it. I mean, Philly shot their shot, and Oakland or the A's said, "All right, holla at you," and Dombrowski said, "Okay," and it could be the same scenario. But if they say yes, they say yes.
Yeah. Now you got a 26-year-old third baseman that's a hit first 3B or coming up was, but still solid enough defender to play the position, and now you see what happens.
Yeah, and he would fit good in the 5 or 6 hole right there, and that would be perfect.
I'll be honest, as high as I've been on him, I did not even check into his StatCast at all this year or his numbers. I'm sure, though, being that you only get 401 at bats and it's sporadic time, that it's probably in and out all over the place. But so looking at this, he was top 70% of the league in expected batting average, which is a fairly solid number. He squared up 29%, which was 83rd percentile of the league offensively. Whiff rate 22.5, which is 63 percentile in the league. His K rate 15.4.
That's legit.
For 86th percentile in the league.
That's legit.
Similar to Baum, he doesn't strike out, but he doesn't walk.
What's his launch
angle? Difference in him and Baum is he's 15.5 on his launch angle. He's actually getting the ball elevated to some degree.
Yeah. And you were talking Rooker was at 18, 19 degrees, and so he's in that happy medium of Baum hitting it right here, Rooker hitting it here. So he's got the elevation to get the ball out.
He's got enough elevation. He can out-homer Baum over a full season if he's fully healthy, given a chance, and in a decent slot in order.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in on it, but again, I've been in on it since day one, so that's nothing new or different. For what it's worth, Sacramento offensively is probably going to play similar at least from some of the things I've read, is probably going to play similar to a Cincinnati, a Milwaukee type ballpark, somewhere in that range.
So top 5 in the league at home runs hit kind of range.
And yeah, in 2022 when he hit the 15 home runs, Miranda that is, in Cincinnati's ballpark, it would have clicked up to 21 home runs.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee's park, it would have went from 15 to 18. So two parks that's probably or possibly comparable offensively to where we're headed. The guy was 20 plus home run guy basically.
Yeah, they need to find a way to make that happen.
We could do a lot worse, man. We could do a lot worse.
Yeah, I think that would be a good fit, and I had not thought about him at all, really.
And what that also then allows Minnesota to just go, hey, Willie Castro be our starting third baseman.
Right. Right.
Or Brooks Lee.
Brooks Lee's going to have because he's obviously not going to overtake Correa, unless he goes to second because Julien's not hitting. But that's what he was made for, was hitting. So I don't know. Sounds like a positive note for us to end on, though, is Jose Miranda going to the A's. I mean, I think that would just make your whole life.
Oh, I'd be all in on 2020. 25, you wouldn't be able to tell me nothing about the AOS. We'd be locked and ready.
You know what? You still might be. I told you before I thought Fisher was moving in this direction, going through Sacramento and then going to Las Vegas. I thought he was going to open his pocketbook a little bit. Not necessarily opening the pocketbook. Severino was the largest contract that y'all have ever given out to a free agent. But the idea of making trades with a decent farm system to improve right now and still not have to spend a ton of money is kind of the best of both worlds for Fisher, I think. So
it is, because just like the Springs deal, when you look at it, we didn't give up a ton. Just to be honest with you, I like Boyle a lot because you're talking about a guy that's bringing it 99 to 100 as a starter, but
he can't control it.
Can't control it. Can't repeat the same motion over and over. So you move on from that, and you get a guy in Springs that you at least know can find a strike zone and compete. So.
And you got Sears, you got him, you got a couple lefties in there that can get guys out, and what you're going to need is guys that can get guys out in Sacramento.
I will give them credit on this and end on this is that the starting pitching that they are going after, even though the names and such may not just truly excite A's fans across the board, I give the front office credit that they're targeting starting pitchers that are trying or have a pitch repertoire to keep the ball in the park, knowing what facility they're headed to. Severino used to be a big K guy. Now he's not, but he's not because he developed a sinker over the past 2 years, trying to keep the ball down, keep the ball in the park, pitch to contact. Springs' biggest weapon is that changeup he's got. Well, the changeup's always sinking, fading down, and usually from a left-handed slot going away as well. So you're looking at weak contact, not a lot of balls lifted. So they're
a lot of balls pounded into the ground.
They're at least trying to target and sign guys that they are hoping will continue the pattern they are on and keep the ball in the park.
Yep, that's the business.
It'd be like the Rockies general manager going, I'm fixing to get a guy that throws. I'm going to target guys throwing 94 and at the chest, when you know that anything in the air is going to fly. It wouldn't make sense. And so, like I say, I at least give them credit for targeting those kind of starting pitchers. Even though the names may not blow you away or wow you, it's like, okay, at the end of the day, I can see where we're headed. I can see what they're trying to do. Now does it work?
Yep. And we'll see. We got a long ways to go. I feel like they're going to make some more moves too. I really do. Just even asking on Bone was
big.
Light years ahead of what you would have thought they would have done.
Yeah, in the past, there's no movement. At least you're making phone calls.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, we'll get out of here. We'll get back in a couple days or tomorrow or something and get some more stuff talked about. We'll eventually talk about the Braves. Super disappointed right now, but we'll end on a good note. The A's, Jose Miranda, Jeffrey Springs. All right, man.
No,
I'll holler at you.
no longer a laughing matter.
No, yes, no, yeah. Atlanta's off season is right now, though.
That's right.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Yep.
Bye.